SCP-3500. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures, a circular area with a radius of 5 m around Dr. Ralph Roger is to be monitored at all times. Should SCP-3500-1 appear, it is to be detained and placed in a standard humanoid containment cell. SCP-3500-1 instances displaying cognitive function in line with the original Dr. Roger are to be granted Class 3 humanoid privileges, and offered limited employment. Due to SCP-3500's relative unpredictability, caution is to be observed during SCP-3500-1 manifestations. Instances displaying hostile or volatile behavior towards Foundation employees are to be subdued on manifestation. Should such hostility continue past initial containment, instances are to be terminated to avoid further damage. Thorough analysis should be conducted to ensure that each SCP-3500-1 instance is an SCP-3500-1 instance, and not a result of SCP-2546 infection. Dr. Roger is to be granted psychological counseling upon request. Per Site-77's Director Shirley Gillespie, all attempts by Dr. Roger to resign or leave his position are to be denied. Since SCP-3500 began, Dr. Roger has requested amnestic treatment following each event. Initially, these requests were granted. However, despite the amnestics, Dr. Roger has become mentally unstable. Further treatment has been suspended in order to ensure that he becomes desensitized to these phenomena. Update 2017-4-21. Foundation personnel possessing Level 3 clearance or higher have been notified of recent developments concerning SCP-3500, and have been placed under close surveillance. SCP-3500's mechanism of spreading is currently unknown, and cannot be prevented as of this iteration. Warning: attempted access detected. Please enter Level 5 credentials or Pataphysics Departmentalid number. Credentials recognized. Disarming counter-narrative e-measures. WELCOMEBACK Dr. Panagiotopoulos. Partial containment of SCP-3500 has thus far been possible through lateral application of procedure Kuzako-Buehler to extract known imprints of SWN-001-1 RGT, Roger, embedded in narrative layers approaching Pataphysics zone. Internarrative twining has been reduced at a rate of 30 to 40%, though this effectiveness is dropping. Concurrent efforts to slow the rate of Operation Flat Horizon spread have thus far been unsuccessful. SCP-3500, previously contained at the intersection of SWN-001-1 RGT imprints 1 has in the last 3 months spread outward through several narrative vectors into planes related to other SWN-001-1 entities, as well as other unclassified entities. Point 2 As spread patterns are erratic, it is theorized that several of these vectors are undetectable from the bulk narrative viewpoint. MTF-IOTA-0 have been assigned to explore known possible assets, while SCP-423 and SCP-3145 are working together to move through fringe narrative and into unexplored narrative root space, with an aim to culling the effects of SCP-3500 at the source. Neither are expected to succeed at this time, though the spread of SCP-3500 currently affects just 13% of known SWN-001-1 instances, and 1% of known SWN-001-2 instances. Current models show a high probability of total spread to active entities within 16 months. SCP-3500 is under consideration for reclassification to Keter, uncontained. TTT. Description: SCP-3500 is a phenomenon involving the manifestation of anomalous versions of Dr. Ralph Roger, hereby dubbed SCP-3500-1, within a 5 m radius of the baseline individual. SCP-3500 occurs at highly variable intervals, with no discernible pattern between manifestations. Point 3 The cause of these manifestations is currently not known. SCP-3500-1 primarily resemble the baseline non-anomalous Dr. Roger in most materializations. However, All recovered instances have displayed an array of anomalous properties inconsistent with their baseline counterpart, see Table T3500-1. A number of manifestations have exhibited abilities/properties consistent with other anomalies contained by the Foundation. SCP-3500's relation to these anomalies is currently not understood. 241 instances of SCP-3500-1 have been captured and contained. Warning, attempted access detected. Please enter Level 5 credentials or Pataphysics Departmentalid number. Credentials recognized. Disarming counter-narrative measures.welcomeback. Dr. Panagiotopoulos. SCP-3500 is a distortion of narrative cohesion affecting all known Canon planes, centered around Dr. Ralph Roget of Site-19 and his analogs throughout the metaverse. SCP-3500 is theorized to be the result of hypercompression of twined planes following Operation Flat Horizon and its ancillary operations. Point 4. This hypercompression causes bulges at significant data points, most notably the imprints of SWN-001-1 entities, causing extreme strain at their respective stacked planes. In the most extreme case, that of SWN-001-1 RGT, this has led to ruptures and the intermixing of canons surrounding the point of decohesion. With the increasing number of data points per day, the pressure on SWN-001-1 RGT's imprint grows exponentially, as it does on other unruptured bulges. With the predicted insurgence of data points following the recent formation of a rare data hyperposition, the current situation is likely the tipping point of systemic rupture. The consequences of such an event remain uncertain. However, predictive models appear to indicate a 48% chance of complete narrative collapse. Addendum: the following table contains a selection of SCP-3500-1 entries that have been contained. The full list is available to personnel possessing clearance level 2 or higher. Identity, date of manifestation, SCP-3500-1 description/characteristics, SCP-3500-1-001, 2012-02-26, security footage captured SCP-3500-1-001's manifestation within Dr. Roget's office. The instance possessed pink pigmentation, feathers 5 protruding from the arms and legs, and an orange-tinted beak in the place of a mouth and nose. SCP-3500-1-001 became hostile upon noting Dr. Roget's presence. Dr. Roget sustained 2 facial lacerations before site security could secure the instance. SCP-3500-1-017, 2012-06-19, SCP-3500-1-017 manifested in Site-77's cafeteria atop the food distribution line as Dr. Roget was eating lunch. The entity was brown in color and consistency, and was later determined to be made entirely of milk chocolate. It began moving in Dr. Roget's direction, at which point it began melding. Other personnel present report that the entity showed signs of consciousness as it was melding, reportedly screaming incoherently in Dr. Roget's direction. Several personnel became enamored with the material, and had to be removed from the premise by site security. When questioned about their sudden desire to consume the material, affected parties all mentioned a distinct and overwhelming aroma which drew them towards the chocolate. SCP-3500-1-054, 2012-11-18, SCP-3500-054 appeared as Dr. Roget was passing a janitorial closet. The entity was described, by Dr. Roget, as being completely composed of wood, with the exception of the eyes, which appeared human in origin, and the hair which resembled the brushes typically found on janitorial mops. The entity was immobile throughout the encounter, and began secreting highly corrosive fluid from the head, resulting in the rapid deterioration of the wooden tissue. Site security was alerted shortly after this began. However, despite repeated efforts to neutralize the corrosive substance, the replica ultimately dissolved. Dr. Roger filed an amnestic treatment and personnel transfer request following the incident. This request has been denied. SCP-3500-1-094, 2013-02-19, Dr. Roger awoke in his Site-77 apartment 3 times on the morning of February 19 to a foreign figure which he described as being shadowy, but glowing. Following the second appearance, Dr. Roger was awoken by a sudden flash of bright light and a distorted high-pitched squeal, at which point he realized that the figure was in fact an SCP-3500-1 manifestation, at which point it collapsed into a pile of its component parts. The entity is now known to have been composed of 92 children's nightlights, as well as a number of standard extension cords. All nightlights were determined to be non-anomalous. Dr. Roger was purportedly found unconscious in his bathroom 2 days following the incident, having nearly overdosed on prescription-strength sleeping medication, SCP-3500-1-114, 2013-04-18, Dr. Roger returned to his office following reports of anomalous food bowls in Site-77's cafeteria. CCTV camera footage captured Dr. Roger beginning to open the door, when he was suddenly pushed back against the wall of the hallway by a flood of Tostitos brand corn chips. Dr. Roger was recovered from beneath a ceiling-high pile of chips and molten cheese, at which point it was determined he'd suffered numerous minor lacerations, and first-degree burns on the arms. During the debrief, Dr. Roger reported that, as he was opening the door, he was able to see a replica of himself made of several standard food bowls, random assortments of molten cheeses, and several bags of chips. Dr. Roger requested psychological treatment following this incident, SCP-3500-1-118, 2013-05-01, the entity was initially clothed in garb worn by hunters during the early 20th century, and possessed appropriate hunting gear from the period. Initially, 118 was screened thoroughly for anomalous properties, however none were found. As a result, he was offered full employment and standard level 1 security clearance despite an irrational fear of the moon. On May 24, 2013, Dr. Roger found the entity within its office, in the process of transforming into a human-sized Oryctolagus cuniculus, at which time it managed to escape into the site. 57 additional human-sized Oryctolagus cuniculus were contained by site security alongside the original depletion of Site-77's vegetable stocks. Dr. Roger put in an additional request following this incident to increase psychological treatment from once to 3 times a week, alongside a second personnel transfer request. The former was granted, and the latter denied. SCP-3500-1-170, 2014-03-29, the circumstances behind the appearance of SCP-3500-1-170 are currently unknown. 6 SCP-3500-1-170 is an identical version of Dr. Roger's head, severed at the neck, and kept in a fluid-filled glass container possessing an electronic cryogenic temperature regulation mechanism. Whenever it is observed, Dr. Roger will receive a call on his work, home, or cellular phone, depending upon his current location. Upon answering, Dr. Roger will be greeted by a voice claiming to also be Ralph Roger, but from a future point in time. 7 Conversations tend to center around past, present, and future events of Dr. Roger's life, as well as a continual attempt to convince Dr. Roger to take control of Site-77 through assassination of the current director. Dr. Roger continues to ignore such attempts, but has requested that the entity be placed in a chamber where observation will not be possible. This request has been denied, and authorization has been granted to monitor these calls. SCP-3500-1-216, 2017-02-22, on February 2, 2017, Dr. Roger contacted site security and notified them of another SCP-3500-1 manifestation. Upon arriving at Dr. Roger's office, security found him standing 3 meters from the door, with his sidearm drawn and pointed at the entrance. Upon being questioned, he panicked and fired 2 rounds into the door, after which the sound of something large being dragged across the floor could be heard. SCP-3500-1-216 proceeded to destroy both the door and the frame with great force, via Dr. Roger's desk having fused to the entity's arms. 3 security personnel were incapacitated by flying debris, at which time Dr. Roger fled the scene. Additional security personnel were deployed, and successfully subdued the instance following several physical engagements. More thorough analysis, following containment, lead researchers to discover that the entity possessed a tail, stinger, and arms analogous to those found in Arizona bark scorpions. 9 Dr. Roger submitted a request for additional security personnel to be stationed near his office. This request has been approved. As of April 20, 2017, Director Shirley Gillespie has authorized increased surveillance of Dr. Roger, in order to ensure his safety, following SCP-3500-1-216's manifestation. As Dr. Roger's mental state has improved, in part thanks to psychological treatment, further restrictions beyond surveillance are not necessary at this time. Update 2017-4-21, as of this version of SCP-3500's documentation, the anomaly's effects have spread beyond Dr. Ralph Roger to Dr. Jean Carlisle Actus, Dr. Sherry and Leap Andrews, Dr. Tilda Armus, and Dr. Penelope Panagiotopoulos. Due to this sudden spread of SCP-3500's effects, an upgrade of the anomaly's object class from Euclid to Keter has been filed, and is currently pending. Warning, attempted access detected. Please enter level 5 credentials or Pataphysics departmentalid number, credentials recognized. Disarming counter narrative measures. WELCOMEBACK Dr. Panagiotopoulos. Hi there. This is all a little obtuse, isn't it? That's unfortunately just the nature of our work, but I'll do my best to lay this out in plain English. On the 8th of October 2016, the Pataphysics Department began the implementation of joint projects, Operation Flat Horizon and Operation Overmeta. The goal of these projects was simple, if rather ambitious: total unification of the full narrative bulk, into a single cohesive plane. Flat Horizon was more subtle, utilizing the biases of SWN001-1 entities to affect them toward the linking of data points in order to chip away at the rougher edges of the bulk. If Flat Horizon was a pick, Overmeta was more of a sledgehammer. We targeted a single SWN001-1 entity, Rimple, and used them to establish a minor canon. More importantly, we introduced Dr. Hoover's hypercanon theory, which provided a conceptual basis for a fully unified canon. This is hard. I apologize. I'm used to throwing down jargon. When you bullshit enough, it comes true, especially when you live in a rumor and your colleagues are fictional characters. Overmeta was, much to everyone's surprise, a success. We didn't take canon by a storm, but certainly we've seen ripples. 56 planes and counting have moved into state of narrative intersection with the project, and SCP-3621 has since been introduced to the bulk, utilizing many of Pataphysics' core concepts to form a distinct channel between baseline canon and a notable narrative package previously out of our reach. Similarly, SCP-3999 now acts as a communicative interface between us and SWN001-1 entities. It comes down to this: when we decided to make canon collapse, we didn't expect it to actually, collapse. These pillars through canon, characters with direct channels to their creators, were being squashed down and down until, just a few weeks ago, they started to burst, retroactively spilling out into the main canon bulk. Just Dr. Roger at first, one of those weird things that happens to researchers like him. I'd say he was relieved it was as harmless as it was. But then it started spreading. Directors Actus and Moose, the Andrews couple over inside 234, and then me. I was the last straw, obviously. Doesn't do to have reality rupturing around your head, researchers, but when living rumors start splattering into baseline truth, things have properly gone tits up. Estimates indicate that complete narrative collapse is likely to occur within the next 16 months, at which point, well, Flat Horizon's job will be complete. A flat plane. Worlds squashed together, inconsistencies crushed underneath the incomparable momentum of human thought. If it's not yet clear, our current actions are utterly futile. MTF Iota Zero is not going to find some holy grail of meta bullshittery. Our scouts aren't going to save the world by invading the conceptual sludge, which brings me to this: there's a simple solution. One which the others haven't thought of yet. They're not idiots, they will, just not as fast as I have. The solution is that we talk to you directly. Break out that list pages module and snap you out of your seat for half a second when you see your username. Hello, I'll wave. It's me, Penelope, being meta. Welcome to the note at the end. All this is breaking your suspension of disbelief. It has to. No person withstands this much acknowledgement of fictionality without feeling detached. That's important. I want you to remember I'm not real. That this article is written by one of you, two of you, now, if my readings are correct, and there's no need to incorporate it into how you see our reality. I need you to think, yeah, alright, I guess that was kind of fun, but obviously it's not canon. You know the drill, there is no canon. Footnotes: 1. CRGT seed node, 2. See non-writer entities and their influence, a theory on narrative root space, Panagiotopoulos et al., 3 on May 5, 2012, 3 SCP-3500-1 instances appeared within 24 hours of each other, whereas the largest gap between manifestations was between October 30, 2015, and February 3, 2016, 4C. Just trust us on this one, we're pretty sure we're right. Hoover et al., 5 later determined to be analogous to those of Finecona's Ruber. 6 Dr. Roget has refused to answer any and all questions regarding his initial encounter with the entity. 7. The date from which SCP-3500-1-170 is calling changes with each subsequent incident. 8. Most events discussed concerning Dr. Roget's future have failed to occur. 9. The arms were noted to lack claws.